Okay, we're good to go. Welcome, everybody. This is the Wednesday, April 21st, 2021 regular meeting of the Darien Parks and Recreation Commission. First item of business is the approval of the minutes from our last meeting, which was March 17th, 2021. They were sent out to you. Do people have corrections or changes? No. I've got a few things, but I'd like to let everybody else go first. Okay. They're really minor, Jamie, right? Where it says absent, it says Lucy Hackman and there's no and, it's just Lucy.
Okay.
And what else? That was fine. Really didn't have much. That actually was it.
I actually had one, so
Okay.
as
Thanks,
usual.
Kathy.
Sorry, Jamie. If you get to the new business section, I think we didn't agree that we needed to establish a protocol for future flag requests. We agreed that we needed to look into whether we should establish a protocol for future flag requests. I think that's accurate. If anyone disagrees with me, let me know.
I think that probably sounds right. I doubt we were that definitive.
I think so too.
I actually remembered a little differently. I thought we all agreed that we really did need to look into that. I didn't think it was all that questionable. I remember Mike being pretty adamant about it too.
I think we agreed we needed to look into it, but I didn't know if we agreed that we need to establish one. That's my distinction. If you disagree, let me know, but at least that's what I remembered.
I think that the intention was to establish one. I think you might be right, but I think our intention in talking about it was to get one established. But that we wanted to review the town's protocol for reference about it. I don't think it was in question whether we wanted to establish a protocol. I think it was that we should consider doing it. Well, maybe you're right.
Yeah, I guess I thought until we know what everyone else does, it's hard to decide whether to establish one or not. So that's where I was coming from. But
well, I think there's a hole in the. I mean, we're looking back at it, but I think there was sort of an understanding that there was a hole and that we didn't have any protocol associated with it. So it would be a good idea to take a look at it and do that. But I'm not wedded either way. I just feel like the intention was to get some sort of protocol down that looks to the first looking to the town's protocol and then figure out how we wanted to deal with it. I don't think it matters either way, frankly.
Any other thoughts on that from other members? I think my inclination would be to leave it that we would investigate whether we needed to, as opposed to a definitive statement stating that we absolutely were going to do it. I guess to be completely accurate, Jamie or some of us would have to go back and listen to the tape.
Yeah, no, I'm good with that. It's fine.
Okay. Other updates? Nope. Scanning. Okay, then if there's no other changes, if someone would be willing to make a motion to accept the minutes as updated.
I will move so.
Thank you, Mary Louise. Second? Kathy? Okay. Jamie, will you do the roll call, please?
Lori?
Yes.
Susan?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Amy,
Yes.
Pierre.
Yes.
That's everybody.
Okay, great. Next, we had public comment on the agenda. Pam tells me that we had no one register this evening for public comment, so we can move on to the next item, which is the discussion and vote on the Eagle Scout project, and we're welcoming Alan Show. If I pronounced that correctly. And
I'll introduce him real quick if you want
I was
me
going to ask Susan if you wanted to do the introduction for us.
Oh, wanted to introduce Alan Shao. He is a junior at the Darien High School and a Life Scout at Troop 35. And he's going to be presenting on his project for Baker Park. Thank you. Go ahead, Alan.
Hi. I think if I can, I still can't share my screen. I'm not sure what to.
Did that work for you?
That's you sharing your screen.
Looks like you have to be the presenter to share.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to transfer the presenting controls over to Ellen.
I'm not certain how to do that.
I think I
So
sent the slideshow to you if you just want to pull that up.
Okay.
But there's also a thing at the bottom of the screen. There should be, Pam, that says share screen.
I
And
did.
then,
I
and then you can do that to the participants.
It says to share screen, ask the organizer to make you a presenter. So when you go to share screen, Pam, it should allow you to make other people presenters.
Yeah.
I don't see that, but when I say it says share screen, let's see. Include media, sound, applications. Let's see. It's not giving me that choice.
Can you pull it up? I think that's your only other choice, unfortunately. I deal with this on a daily basis when people can't share things. So.
Yeah, Pam, if you have the presentation, maybe you could just put it up on your screen and then share your screen then.
Right. So he would have to send it.
Well, it was in the it was in the packet. Oh, it was on a Google Drive. You're right.
Yeah. Yep.
I think, should I share it to you, Miss Daly, or?
I don't have access to it because I'm not a presenter too. I just tried.
Okay.
So Pam,
So if
can you do it?
Yeah, he's got to send it to my email. Okay, I think I see it. Let's see. Okay. Geez, it's dropped me out here. I'm trying to get back in the meeting here. There we go. And so let's see. I have it. Presentation, but I have to share my screen. Let's see. Can we see it there?
Not yet. You sharing your screen?
Yeah,
There you
I,
go.
right there. Can you see it now?
We're just seeing the go-to meeting.
Yeah, it's
I
up
can-
on my.
I can do a drive. That's okay. Like
It's on my screen right now, but it's doing some. It is pausing screen sharing. Let's see. Technical difficulties. It says screen sharing is now paused. Another window is on top of your shared screen.
Yeah, I think you've got the we're seeing the go-to meeting like opening page, so you need to close that out. I think exit out completely.
Okay.
Don't just minimize it.
Here, yeah. I can try to find that. Yeah, it's not. Sorry, folks. This is the first time I've dealt with this on this. Yeah, see, I pull it up on my Google. It's here, and then but it's not. Like that.
Pam, online it says you could click on the person on their actual like picture, and then you can make them a presenter through there. Want to try that? Or
Sure.
I guess that's what.
Oh yeah, make a presenter. Thank you. There we go.
Nice.
There we
Got it,
go.
Alan?
Does that work? Hello? Can you guys see this?
Yep, we can.
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right.
Whoever figured that out, thank you.
Go. All right. Hi. My name is Alan Shao. I am a resident of 26 Park Place, and I'm currently part of Troop 35. So yeah, today I'm here to talk to you about my Eagle Scout project, which, if you guys would let me, I would love to revitalize Baker Park's walking trail. To start, I would like to lay out my project goals. There are three aspects of Baker Park that I like to improve, this being the sign in front of Baker Park, the bridge at the end of the trail, and the trail itself. To start with the sign, I'd like to replace the plexiglass on the sign, which is worse for wear. I'd also like to add a map under that plexiglass, and then finally just sand and stain the wood on the sign itself. For the bridge, I'd like to. This bridge is something at the end of the trail and something that I'd like to also reinforce. But I don't want to replace it completely because this was another Eagle Scouts project. But I would like to reinforce the crack as seen in the top right, as well as anchor the bridge down into the ground, similar to the concrete blocks shown here. Because as it currently stands, the bridge is not anchored down to anything, and with heavy rain, the bridge sort of just washes away. To help with that, I'd also like to clear out the debris underneath the bridge to create a better water flow. Finally, the trail itself. So basically what I want to do here is basic trail maintenance. There are two main problem areas that I want to address here. This being the end of the trail, where a lot of cars and a lot of trucks go between this area right here, which leaves a bunch of tire skid marks and fills with water up pretty easily. So I'd like to adjust this area here in the top right, as well as the low spot in the trail, which right now is filled with rocks. I'm not sure if you guys are aware of that, but that's what's going on here. As well as just doing basic trail maintenance, I'd also like to take the logs in the woods itself and add them to the sides of the trail to make a more defined and beautified trail. To go over safety, safety will be up to code with BSA regulations. They use the acronym SAFE, which stands for Supervision, Assessment, Fitness and Skills, Equipment and Environment. And per BSA regulations, only adults are allowed to use power tools. So here is a full comprehensive document regarding safety. It addresses SAFE, the acronym SAFE, as well as provides a chart stating who can use what tool. And finally, we have some miscellaneous information. So the cost of the project is roughly $200 for the lumber, plexiglass, and the stain. I would be willing to accept donations from you guys, but otherwise it can be paid out of pocket. And should you guys choose to support my Eagle Scout project, here's a document which contains the information that you will need as my project beneficiaries. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Let me open up to the commission for questions.
So Alan, thank you so much for coming, and it was a great presentation. So thank you for telling us about it. Are you doing this project with your whole troop, or is this you doing it yourself with just a couple members of your troop?
Given the size of the project, I think I would do it with a few members of my troop.
Okay. Other questions?
Hi,
Sarah?
Alan. Hi, Alan. I just want to say thank you so much for your organized presentation and for focusing on Baker Park. I go there all the time with my kids, and I think there's so much potential with that trail. I don't think a lot of people know about it, actually. So it's so great that you're doing that, and I love your idea. So thank you so much.
And Lori, I wanted to comment as well. Alan, thank you so much. Great presentation. And that sign has been such an eyesore for a couple of years. So it's just phenomenal that you're willing to clean it up and make it look nice. Thank you.
Sarah?
Hi, thank you, Alan. I appreciate you taking on this project for us. Pam, or maybe Susan, Lori, you can remind me. I know we talked about signs at all the parks and how we wanted to have them all look the same. Do you remember talking about that at one point?
We've talked about it, many times. So we're trying to draw, consistency to, where we can to the different signage and sign
right
cases throughout the park. Yes.
Okay, so I just didn't know if we were, if we were going to look into, to make sure that this was what we wanted in terms of, how we're redoing it.
Well, to clarify, every park in town does have the same entrance sign.
Okay.
The final one was just put in at Diller Park. So if you notice that sign at the entrance of Diller, that's at every single park we have in town. And it's
right.
Standard.
Yeah. Those I saw that. It looks great.
This sign that Alan's doing is a informational sign that we have not consistent in all our parks, but we do have some. We have another one at Stony Brook that really doesn't get used much, and we have a few at Weed Beach that we are a little bit more active on because it takes a lot of time to go in and change all those signs. And we had an Eagle Scout project put up an informational board sign at Cherrylawn Park, which gets a lot of use.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're all on the same page with it. I didn't want to have us have a new sign that was different from all the other signs in case we were all trying to, do something different.
I think if Alan could look at the ones in the other locations, just to the extent that the staining or the refinish can be somewhat compatible, that certainly would be nice. I think that would be a good thing to, to accomplish. And then, Pam, what other than the trail map that Alan proposes to put in, what else would go in there?
Well, depending on Alan, this is a great question for you. Thank you, Lori. Will the signboard be able to be changed? Will you have it so that the plexiglass slides, or will it strictly be the map?
I think I'm actually not too sure. I think that it's something that you can take out and put new stuff in. So I think that it can be something that can be interchanged.
So you might want to take a look at Cherrylawn, and how they constructed that in order to pull out the plexiglass and then change the sign and then put the plexiglass back in. It slides in and out.
So that we can update it. I did go over and walk the park last evening so I could get, context before Alan's presentation. I agree with Tier. I had never walked that loop. I'd certainly been to many a baseball game in that park over the years, but I'd never walked through there. So my husband and I actually had a really lovely walk this evening, and he was like, "Ooh, we got to do this more often." So I mean, the sign is very, sad, and that gets back to the concept of standards of care and how we've let it look like that for these years. So I really appreciate that Alan is stepping up to do this. And And the bridge was definitely wobbly last night when I walked over it. It's definitely not firmly grounded. And I also noticed that section where you really had to walk over the stones because it was really wet in that one area. So really getting on the trail, the only way to do it was to, pick your way across the different stones, which if you had, perhaps smaller children or somebody who's not as steady, that would definitely be challenging. I'm notoriously klutzy on stones. I just, for some reason, have stone issues. It's like kind of a joke in the family. So I was like, darn it, stones. And then how are cars getting in there? Because the access from the road behind, I guess is that Du Bois or Relihan, whatever it is. There's big boulders, so it barely looks like a car could get through. It kind of looks like maybe a small car could go through. Pam, are Parks and Rec trucks going through there to service the fields, or what's creating those big tire tracks?
Most likely tractor.
Okay.
Yeah, mower. I know that the soccer league stores their nets.
That's at the other end. That's at the beginning of the trail, not where those big ruts are.
So I'm assuming that it could be Park and Rec.
Okay, because I'm just wondering if we could put it. I mean, if Alan fixes that, but then cars keep going in, we're gonna get the same ruts. And when I looked last night, they were exactly like he showed them in the picture. There were these big giant ruts full of water, and standing water is not great either. So if Parks and Rec isn't accessing from that street, whether we should, and it might not be part of Alan's project, but put a few more boulders somehow to block that off from, I think it's Relihan, to keep vehicles from coming in there, because I'm just concerned it's going to keep running out again.
Well, I can certainly have Jim confirm, go down, take a look, confirm whether it's our vehicles, and that way we can get this information to Alan.
Okay, that would be good. Yeah, it's the access point off of Relihan Road. So it's the way opposite end of the park and the trail, near to the little to the bridge, right, Alan? It's kind of that. It would be the northwest corner of the park, I think.
And it's Relaton Road, you said?
Relihan.
Relihan.
Yeah, it's sort of the back way.
Okay.
The back way in. And the other thing, when I was walking last night, I did observe some dogs off leash. So I looked to the handy dandy chart on our website this morning and realized that Baker was not listed. So I didn't say anything to the person because I didn't know off the top of my head what the rules were. Jamie has confirmed that only dogs on leash are allowed at Baker. So, again, do we want to consider in that case whether we need to post a sign or not is something I think we need to think about regarding the dog requirements.
Yeah, I think we should.
Okay.
Just to go back to the water and how that area, especially where Alan talked about where the rocks are, I don't know if everybody remembers, that's like an area that gets some flooding. And I think that was an area that the town looked at in terms of doing some flooding. It was a long time ago, many years, about putting plantings to stuff. So that area does get a bit of water. And the rocks that Alan mentioned is that during the spring, it's very wet there. So trying to figure out, it does dry out, obviously, when, summer arrives, but I guess other places, what they do is they use like little round blocks that you could walk on, like a stepping stone kind of. Those rot for obvious reasons, but it looks like someone took flat rock and did the same idea, which is more enduring, but it isn't, probably a safe, like easy place for people with challenges to walk on. So that's something to think about. If you think of anything, Alan, when you're doing your project that would help that would be awesome. The other thing that I walked it a couple of weeks ago with my dog on leash, in fact.
Thank you, Susan.
There's some graffiti on some of the rocks there. And I was like, wow, graffiti. I've walked it so many times and just there, it wasn't really like, super obvious, but it was there. I have a picture of it. Did you see that when you were there, Alan? And I was wondering if that's something we could figure out a way to kind of get rid of it, because it's just another talk about how it looks to the public. When you have graffiti in a space, it just looks very unloved.
Not natural. Yeah.
Not natural for sure. But I think the other thing that, to go back to your project, we could ask if Jim Flynn could help bring some chips for you to fill in those spots, maybe that might get a little wet, and redo the, we've done that in the past, Pam, where, you know, maybe Jim can just dump a few loads and then the scouts can spread them on the path on each side. I know we did that at some point. So if you need that type of help, we can. We typically don't fund projects because of our budget situation. But it sounds like your budget is very modest, so you should be good to go. But it's that stuff that we can do in terms of the value added with doing the wood chips that we can help you with. Then you don't have to, you know, figure out a way to get materials that can help, you know, create that trail that you're talking about. But I think your project looks great. Thank you very much. Yeah, very nice presentation. Thank you.
Okay. Any more questions for Alan from the commission members? No? Okay. Then we need to have a motion to approve this project, if someone would like to make it.
I'll make it. I'd like to make a motion to accept Alan Shaw's Eagle project at Baker Park as he's presented tonight.
Second?
I'm happy to second.
Okay. Thanks. I saw Tier. I actually just had one more question. We didn't ask, which we almost always ask, which is timing.
Oh yeah, big question.
I believe I should be doing this towards the end of the school year, so I'm thinking May or June. Okay. I also have to submit this to the Eagle board themselves to get this approved, so okay. I will have more timing then.
Okay, but within the next few months would be your expectation?
Yes.
Right, okay, thank you. Okay, all righty. Any other, did that tick off any other questions people forgot before we vote?
Does it have to be scheduled with you, Pam, when he does it?
Well, I definitely need to know when he's there. That way we can make sure we, you know, the parks crew knows and yeah. So Alan, you can just send me an email about your timeline would be great once you get all the approvals.
Good. Okay, then Jamie, if you can roll call the vote, please.
Lori?
Yes, and thank you very much, Alan.
Sarah?
Yes.
Amy?
Yes, thanks, Alan. Good job.
Yes, again, thank you, Ellen. Great presentation.
And Kathy?
Yes, and Alan, again, thank you very much. And my dog agrees as well. He's barking in the background.
That's everyone, Lori.
Okay, great, thank you. So it is approved, and Alan, we will look forward, and I know I'll look forward to going over there and walking the trail again when you've got it updated. Thank you very much. It's nice to see some of our more forgotten parks get some love. That's great. All right, next on the agenda, we have an update on Darien Junior Sailing being presented by John Whipple, who I see has joined us. So, John, I will turn the, it's not the floor, turn the screen over to you.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
We can.
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, so that was a very professional presentation. I don't have one, so I apologize for that, but I was planning just to speak. So
the kids always show us up. I'm just telling you. We've had fifth graders show us up.
Yeah, well, I'm being shown up tonight. But so I would say three things to mention. First, thank you for the support for using We Beach and the support from the program. It is I think a good community service and one that we could not do without the Parks Department and the Parks Commission support. So first, thank you for all of that over the years. Secondly, quick update on last year. So this was we went up having a very successful season. As you know, most parks sort of summer programs kick off in February and March. And we were not just in the height of the pandemic last year, but actually at the start of what this actually would look like at all. So we were a little bit in doubt as to whether we could pull it off. We did reduce the size of the classes. We implemented some safety protocols, and we wound up having a very good turnout with 2/3 of our sessions completely full, and the others actually almost full. So we had almost a full crew of kids, and actually a lot of new kids for the first time. So a whole bunch of and the younger 8, 9, 10-year-olds joined for the first time last year, which is always an encouraging sign for the future. And I'm happy to support. We would say we had no sicknesses among either the counselors or the kids. So that was all successful and good. So last season, we did reduce sizes, we reduced the number of weeks. So financially, it was not ideal, but we did go through it, and it was actually quite good. So that was a positive overall. So this season kicked off. We opened registration back in February, and I think due to the success of last year, we actually had, within an hour of opening the registration, we had half the slots already filled, which is excellent. So it was like a race to see who could sign up faster to make the list. So we have 73 slots filled for this year already. That includes some people doing more than one session, but 73 slots versus actually only 65 total of last year. So we're already ahead of last year in terms of number of kids signed up, and we still have a few open slots to go. So overall, so far, we're looking very good for this year. I would say, and also our wait list is incredibly long. So we have a lot of younger kids relative to years past, again, coming back this year as well. So our beginner programs are thriving, as is actually our older program, who are our feeders into the counselors. So we have sort of a good barbell of new kids and older ones that can become counselors in training. And actually, we have 2 CITs who are in Darien High who've been in the program for several years, who joined us as CITs this coming year. One issue we always have is finding qualified instructors. Sailing, unlike other sports or other programs, does require a bunch of certifications, both from safe boating and the sailing. What's it called? The Spacey Sailing Association has certifications to get. So we do have 4 of our counselors coming back from last year, which is great. So I would say this year we're looking in fairly good stand, at least as of mid-April right now. We are planning to have 3 sessions, a 3-week session starting the Saturday after school gets out. I think it's June 14th or whatever that Saturday after school gets out. A 3-week session, then a 2-week session, which ends middle of August. So last year we cut that down to 7 weeks just because we wanted an extra week to get ready. We're back to sort of what we had been in the past with 8, total of 8 weeks of camp. So I would say overall we're in good shape. We still have the same board members from last year, and our same director, Chris Deek, will be joining us again this year. And so I think we're in at this point, I feel very positive about where we stand for this coming year.
Great, thank you. Questions?
One other thing which is nice, our program's always been viewed as a very low cost alternative, especially to the yacht clubs in the area, which I think is a draw as a most all volunteer, at least from the board standpoint, program. And we actually, for the first time in I think at least maybe 12 years, we actually had not raised fees once in 12 years, which is not in line with inflation at all. So we actually, 1, to shore up finances, and 2, because we were behind, we did raise prices by about 20 to 25% and still had full support, which was needed for our small program. So that's very good. So I'm happy about that as well, which is nice.
John, you mentioned you have 73 children signed up to date. What's the maximum number you can serve?
We have, it'll be, I'm not totally sure. It's maybe about 100-ish. It's separated too. So we have 18 kids in the morning and up to 24 in the afternoon, because it includes some older campers as well. We are actually, sorry, 18 in both sessions. So we could have 18 morning and 18 afternoon. We are constrained because we keep the counselor to student ratio pretty high. So we have a max of 6 kids per any one counselor. And that program we need that because kids are on the water and things can happen on the water. So we make sure we have appropriate certified staff in the motorboats out there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Pam?
Yes, John, nice to finally see you.
Yes.
Also, a couple things. do you anticipate using the paddle hut to store some of your counselors' belongings? And secondly,
go ahead.
Secondly, do you think that you'll need the help of the park crew? There's been a couple of years where you have, and there's been a couple of years where you haven't.
Yeah, so I would say to answer both questions. The first, we did not have the paddle hut last year, and that was totally understandable because we didn't want to be indoors during COVID. I would say the time where the paddle hut is helpful is actually on rainy days. So, you know, unlike other camps, we have to just shut down if there's a thunderstorm or bad weather. So it would be nice to be able to do some indoor teaching if we can during the inclement weather, or even days where it's beautiful weather but there's 0 winds. The kids can't go out for that reason as well. So we can do it at the location under the tents, but having an indoor place would be nice, but it's not critical because we were able to pull it off last year. So I defer to you honestly on that, but it would be nice to have.
So we have set up a few classes at the paddle hut. And what we'll do is just keep good communication, whether, you know, when we may have a day class in there or a party, but always can use the overhang of the bathhouse as well, because we have large yoga classes under there at the concession area. That's always an area too that you could take cover.
Okay.
So we'll keep good communication about what we have scheduled in there.
Okay, great. Perfect.
Okay.
And to answer your second question, you know, the one thing we do need is, I've not been there in a little bit, but is the sand berm right currently there again? So it is, right? So which is,
well, they take care of that every year.
Yeah, so that's one thing that's needed, and also the you know, we build that ramp every year with a combination of some fiberglass and wood. So getting those to a location down there, because they get very heavy, and we have 2 or 3 of us carrying them for a couple hours. So the closer they can get, the better.
Okay.
So other than that, I think we're pretty self-sufficient.
Sounds great. I'll let Jim know.
Thank you.
And you put the permit into Jeannie already?
I emailed it to you yesterday, the day before.
Okay. Okay. I'll
So
take a look.
it's in your inbox. Yes.
All right.
As is the signed contract and the permit.
Yes, I
both.
did see it. Correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Of course.
Other questions? Okay, good. Well, John, thank you.
I had one question. I apologize for asking the broad group, but we have a couple people out of Darien who want to do this program, which I'm fine with because they're basically from New Canaan who doesn't have access to the water. Is there an issue with them this year getting just to drive the kid and drive back out? I assume that's fine, but is there any objection to that from the committee or?
No, we tell them you're doing a drop off. We've done that in the past.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I know last year there was rules around only Darien residents could use the park, or I don't know. So
we're open.
Well, no, but Pam, you would have to provide some kind of drop-off pass or something for those cars. You'd have to figure out how to.
The way it's handled, and Jim, you can certainly correct me if I'm not right, but we give the guards a list of programs where people can be dropped off.
Oh, great.
Yeah, it's not a problem. John, it's not a problem at all.
Okay.
They'll be all set.
Okay, thank you very much.
John, thanks for doing such a great job providing residents that want to try out sailing with this program. I know it was the same for my son many years ago, and it is such a confidence builder, and it really allows a lot of our residents to get a first taste of sailing. Thanks for keeping it going with volunteers and everything. And kudos for keeping the price so reasonable even after all these years.
It's still honestly, it's still pretty reasonable even with our increase. It's actually cheaper than, because I have 3 kids who are doing all sorts of programs around town, and it's still among the cheaper ones, even with the certified instructors and the sail. You know, it includes a boat rental and all those things.
You have to use, right? You know, it's kind of amazing when you think about boats. They cost money, so you know, thank you for doing that.
Of course.
How do you advertise the program to get the word out? Because we have so many new young families in town. How do they typically find out about the program?
Sure. So we do send out, all the elementary schools in town have a weekly email. Like our kids go to Oxbridge and we get the weekly hoot. In that there's a blurb that says like, Darien Junior Sailing's on, registration open. So that's our primary. We do send sort of blast emails to all of the various families who've been involved in the last few years. I believe, and I'm to date myself, I'm not on social media, but we do have a Facebook page and Instagram, which actually has a very nice, I believe, a very nice video of the program someone made a couple years ago. So we do have social media outlets as well, but most of it is through the advertisement through the local schools.
Okay, great. Yeah. I would just think with, as I said, so many new young families in town. As Susan said, it's a great way for people who are new to a waterfront community to give their children a first opportunity without a big commitment of buying a boat and that whole deal, which we went through.
Yeah, and like we have our first session in the morning session, which is the beginners. We have 18 slots. We have 36 kids currently tried to sign up. So there's clearly demand for a community boating program. So
great. Well, thank you very much for your efforts. We wish you a really great season. You know, good for you to manage through last season, which was tricky for everybody. And you know, it just feels like the parks and all of the programs are going to be just booming in town this summer is my sense, even though you might have thought people were just going to be, you know, rushing out of town at the first opportunity. I think there'll be a lot of people who, you know, are still now been introduced to our parks and all the different activities that are available, and they will be, you know, taking advantage of them. So it'll be really interesting to see how things go this summer. But I think from what we've seen from Pam right now, registrations for programs are really up in town. So we wish you a really great season. Keep us posted how it goes. And, you know, we'd love to have you come back in the fall and, you know, debrief us on your season.
Hopefully in person.
Hopefully in person. Well, I don't know. I think there's some commission members who kind of like this, not having to go out of the house. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out over time. But that's a discussion for another time. So, okay. All right. Thank you very much, John.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. Next, we have the discussion and vote on raising the pride flag during the month of June at the parks. We had the preliminary discussion last month, and at that time we weren't even completely sure of what was happening, where we had flagpoles and who was, you know, handling them. And what we have found out is, first of all, we still do not have a flagpole at Weed Beach, so it's just gone, unfortunately. And what we found out is that the only park that the Darien Parks staff raises the flag daily at is Pear Tree, correct, Pam?
Pear Tree and Weed Beach when we have a flag at Weed Beach.
Right, but we don't have
and
a
I'm
flag.
sorry to say, I don't, Jim's going to get a second estimate on the flag for Weed Beach, but I did a pretty thorough look into my budget today, and there are a tremendous amount of expenditures that we've had this spring. So I really don't think we'll be able to have the funding unless we went to the town to look for a special appropriation for it until July 1st.
Right. Okay. So the other flagpoles at various parks are handled or utilized by the Little League, and they raise the American flags during their games or when games are going on. So there really is no one in the town or the park staff that are raising a flag or lowering it at all of these other locations. So I believe for that to take place, we would need to refer the request over to the Little League to determine if they want to participate and raise that flag along with the American flag raising. But I don't think we can compel them to do it. We can certainly indicate no objection if that's the feeling of the commission. So, but I think in terms of what we control, we can only really talk about Pear Tree is basically what we can do at this point, because, you know, the town staff is not going around and doing flags every day anyway, and I don't think we have the manpower even to do that. So, so with that, I will open it up for any discussion or questions or comments.
So Pam, there's a flag at Town Hall. Do we have any understanding of what that protocol is for that flag? and whether the town hall has any, are there any applications process if you want to change that flag or anything like that?
I don't have anything to do with those flags. It's all in the administration office with town selectmen.
My understanding is the request was made to town hall. I saw the correspondence and it was approved by Kate and Jamie.
Okay. And do they have a process, or is it just you get approval through the town hall? Do we know, or maybe we just don't know?
I only know from what the correspondence I saw that they had, that Jamie had okayed it.
Okay.
Other questions or comments?
Oh, I just want to clarify. So we can put it at Pear Tree Point and not at Weed Beach. And then the Little League, we just have to ask them how they feel about it.
I think it would be up to the requester, who's the RTM member who's made this request, to go to the Little League and ask them, because it would be their membership who would be doing this.
Okay, so then are we voting tonight on having the flag at Pear Tree Point?
That would be the only park that is under really where the flag raising is under the control of the Parks Department.
Okay. Well, I'm in full favor of it at Pear Tree Point. I'd love to see it there for June.
Okay.
I'm supportive as well.
Okay. And I would need someone to make a motion.
I will make such a motion that we put up that flag at Pear Tree.
For the month of June.
I'm happy to second.
Okay, so that was Mary Louise, and I'm sorry, it's so hard because I hear voices and I gotta find the voice and put it together.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's fine.
It's happy to second it, unless
Sometimes you wonder why I'm darting around, and then what happens is sometimes your position switches for some reason. So someone was down here and all of a sudden they're up here, so it takes me a minute. Anyway, so that was Mary Louise.
Quick question.
Yes.
Do we have to provide the flag, or is it something that we can order? Sorry, that sounds like a really technical question.
It was my understanding that it would be provided.
Okay. Okay. So we would just get provided with it, and then we would put it at Pear Tree. Okay. Just to
That's my understanding.
Okay.
Michael, can you confirm that?
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't sure if I was able to speak. Don't know protocol. I'm happy to provide. I have done it for town hall and for one or two other locations. Everyone else is providing their own, but I don't want funding to be a detractor for participating.
Okay, thanks.
Great.
Great.
If you can please just let me know the size. I worked with Public Works to get the size for town hall, and I'm happy to order.
I think it would just be according to flag protocols. I mean, I did a little kind of looking online. I believe they have to be smaller than the American flag. So we would just need to know, and I think flag size somehow is in proportion to pole size. So Pam, I think we would just need to know what the size of the flag is that we hoist at Pear Tree, and then it would have to be proportional according to flag protocols.
I'll find that out.
Jim?
It's a 5 by 8 foot flag at Pear Tree.
God, he just like whipped that information right off.
Show off.
I just ordered some a while ago, so.
Okay.
A humble show off.
Okay. And so Pam, so there's a staff member who raises the flag every morning, and then somebody goes back and lowers them every night? Or do the lifeguards?
Apparently so.
Apparently so. Do we know who does that?
Jim, do you know?
Yeah, that flag at Pear Tree is only put up when the lifeguards are on duty. So I don't know who'd be raising that. It would be the lifeguards are on duty on the weekends in the beginning of June, but they're not on the weekdays.
Ew. Okay. That's another wrinkle. So. Okay. So it sounds like it would have to be limited to when because you have to have both flags out. I did see in the protocol, you have to, you know.
Yep.
Okay, all right, so I think we had a motion from Mary Louise and seconded, I believe, by Amy. Any other questions or discussion? Okay, Jamie, can you roll call us, please?
Yes, ma'am. Lori?
Yes.
Susan?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Tier?
Yes.
And Kathy?
Yes.
That's everyone.
Okay, thank you. All right, our next, we have a very long agenda tonight. Our next item is usage by the freights of the pear tree boat launch. I know we feel like we talk about this all the time, but it's because we've kept it on a short 6-month leash, and here we are in April going into the summer season again, so we do need to at least bring it up for a vote again. I just feel it's very important because we all know that it got lost sight of for a number of years, and which caused some complaints and issues a couple summers ago, that we just make sure that we are keeping it in front and getting it formally voted, which gives Pam the authority to reconfirm in writing to the freights that they've been granted the permission for a set time period, that we make sure that the insurance certificate is up to date, et cetera. So nothing has really changed. There still are not really any alternatives for the family. I know it came up, I was at the Coastal Advisory Commission meeting the other evening, because they also have clamming rights. It came up for, not surprisingly, that, it was a really rough year for them because a lot of their business was providing, clams and shellfish to the restaurants, which, I certainly know from being a banker that, different industries that supply restaurants were, hurt just as much as restaurants were during the last year in terms of their business just falling apart. So there was certainly interest, in continuing to support them as they make up for some of those losses. So, but there really are no changes in the circumstances. It's not ideal. I think when we get to the point where we can get the boat ramp rebuilt, that's going to pose a challenge that they and we are going to have to figure out, because the ramp could actually be out of commission for some amount of time, and then once that's finished and if usage changes, we will have to revisit. But it's pretty much status quo at this point. I think over the summer months, we have to be very vigilant about making sure that the boats are kept on the correct side and out of the way, and that, any infractions, could result in us terminating, our approvals, which would mean really they would just have to launch the boats every morning at 5 a.m. when they're going out to fish. I don't have much more to add to it than that, other than, as I said, I just think it's important that we just stay on top of it. So questions or comments?
There is no alternative spot, Lori?
There really isn't. That's the problem. If you know the harbor at all, I mean, there's our ramp, there's the boat club, which will not accommodate them. I've had that conversation with the leadership at the boat club. That's just a complete non-starter. It's just not going to happen. That's all there is on that side of the harbor. The other side, it's Norotan Yacht Club, which is private, which is not going to work either. And there really is nothing else. There's just no access point, and their boats right there in the middle. So it's really either they tie up there or they have to launch their dinghy, trailer it and launch it every day. Susan?
Oh, I was going to say, I, understand about the COVID issue and about business being down, but I also know that, that boating's there's a lot of renewed interest in boating too, staying in town. And I guess my only concern is, that ramp will be used a lot more often, because that's our major ramp. And we did have some issues where it was on the wrong side. And I just, with, that many boats going on and off, and, safety is an issue for me, and just having our residents be able to use that ramp properly. And, you know, we started off allowing it because of disability, and now it's turned into, you know what I mean? And I know it changed again, but I just have to say it every time this comes up, because I think that we're running into exceptions again, you know, and even if it's I get that it's a town business, but, you know, there are other businesses too. So I want to, again, reiterate that so people keep that in the back of their minds when we renew this automatically every time it comes up, that there were considerations that were made by previous commissions, and that, you know, as a town, we also, as a commission, we have to also answer to our residents who are boat users also. So I just want to make sure that's verbalized and out there.
Yeah, Pam, how many launch sticker, or maybe Jim, you know, how many launch stickers do we sell in a season? Now, last season was a little bit unusual because Pear Tree parking lot was closed off early in the season. And some people who just kind of went in and got their boat launched for the one time in the season probably weren't buying stickers. Historically, I think they had to, but the parking lot is not closed off now. In fact, I asked the boat club the other night, and you know, they're not going to do an organized launch day like they did last year because of COVID. So honestly, I basically said, you know, do your members buy stickers to launch their boat? And they kind of looked at me and said, no, probably not. They just, you know, because they're dropping it once in the spring and pulling it once in the fall. So we're really talking about people who don't have a mooring or a dock in the harbor, which there's a 10-year waiting list right now to get a mooring in the harbor. It's very, very long waiting list. Tom Bell, who's the state appointed harbor master for Darien, says he's last summer, even this spring, he's getting calls from people saying, I just bought a boat, I need a mooring. And he's like, you know, sign up on the list, you got a 10-year wait. So people either have to find alternatives in, you know, Stanford or Norwalk, or they've got to trailer their boat and drop it in every time they want to use it. So do you know, Pam, how many boat stickers we're selling? Typically?
Not offhand. I would say less than 100.
Okay.
But again, it's something that I really need to go back and pull up.
Okay. So, I mean, that would imply that there's not a lot of people using the launch, which could be because the launch isn't very good, which we're going to talk about a little bit later. But that, as Susan points out, but boating definitely exploded last summer. You know, people were looking for safe. And in fact, Tom Bell or the other folks from the boat club mentioned that they had people who were on the list to get a permanent dock at the boat club, which is a really, really long wait. They got the call, said, okay, you're up. And then said people went out to try to buy a boat because now they had a place to put it and they can't find boats. Or a lot of people want to buy used boats rather than new. So people who finally had their shot at getting, you know, one of those very coveted docks at the boat club were like, had to pass on it because they can't find a vessel because people went crazy buying boats. So,
hey, Laura, we sold 135 last summer.
Okay.
In the office, and we don't sell a lot of daily boat launch. Folks can, if they don't have a boat sticker, they can also launch and pay the guard there.
Okay.
But those are minimal. Okay.
So right now doesn't sound like there's too much. I mean, that doesn't seem like a very high number to me. Of course, we have no way of knowing, unless it would be anecdotal from the guard, on a given day, how many people actually come in and launch boats. So you guys wouldn't, is that something a guard could kind of make a little list for us?
Yes.
And we could kind of just keep track of it maybe and get some sense on a given weekday, on weekends, and it's going to vary, of course, due to weather and due to tides. Launching out of that on the ramp at low tide is not easy. But it would be interesting information to gather, because I think Susan's point is well taken, and yeah, we're tying up an amenity. Yes, it's tucked on one side, but in theory, somebody with a smaller little boat could come in on that side as well and wait and do some unloading. So we can renew till November. We can do it for 3 months, you know, May, June, July, and revisit it, seeing how the summer goes. I mean, I'm open to you know, what the commission's feeling is.
Given this is his livelihood, I think it would make sense to renew until November.
I agree with Kathy.
Yeah.
Same.
I agree.
Okay. All right, well, then if somebody wants to make that motion, Kathy, did you just make that motion?
I think so.
All right, and a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Okay, so I think it's one of those situations, I think the sense of the commission is that we accept that it's the right thing to do to support the business, but fundamentally, it's just not an ideal scenario. And then we're just gonna have to keep watching it, especially as we move through it with any kind of construction on the parking lot and the boat ramp in the park. Okay, Jamie, you can roll call us.
Did we give Mary Louise the second?
I think
sure.
So. Okay. They kind of, her and somebody else, and I wasn't sure who the other person was.
Or was it Sarah? Was you Sarah?
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Okay.
All right, Sarah it is. Sorry, Sarah.
That's fine.
All right, Lori?
Yeah, it's fine.
Susan?
Yes.
Amy?
Yeah.
Pierre?
Yes.
And Mary Louise?
Yes.
That's everybody.
Okie dokie. Next, we have the follow-up discussion on the standards of care, although Mary Louise did email and said they weren't, she and Tier not ready yet to present an updated version. Is that correct?
I requested an extension, yes.
Yes.
And I also wanted to thank Tier for all the work she did on this first round. And she was telling me how much work she has done in addition to the standards of care, but also with vendors. And she wanted to sort of beg off and suggested I ask for a volunteer to pitch in. And I thought also, in view the last time we zeroed in on cherrylawn, I thought perhaps it would make sense to have each member of the commission maybe adopt a park that they were particularly close to, and that we could work on that as a group.
That makes sense. I think what we might want to do is get sort of the basic template done first.
Okay.
With the we talked about the purpose statement and what the sort of the laundry list, for lack of a better word, of the standards would be, and then that would be the template that we could then complete for each park.
Okay.
I'm definitely willing and happy to work with it on I can't get the words going with you, Mary Louise, but
okay.
Certainly would be happy if one more person, Sarah.
I will.
Okay, great. Okay, so
Excellent.
the three of us will press ahead. And Tier, thank you. And I know you've been doing a lot on trying to get us food this summer.
Correct.
Yeah. Thank you,
You know
Mary.
how I feel about food at the park.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that after bringing it to the board, it's pretty technical and we need more time on it in another hand. So it'd be great, Sarah. Thank you.
Okay, great. Okay, so we'll do that and then hold off on any other further discussion tonight, which is probably fine because it's turned into a really, really long agenda tonight. Okay, and this next one will have a bit of a discussion. It's time for us to start thinking about reigniting our larger projects. Effectively, a year ago, March, really any of the large projects went on hold for, obviously due to COVID, we were asked by town leadership to really pause on any major expenditures as none of us knew what the world and finances and everything were going to look like. We were talking to the foundations on the Weed Beach project, and I think they were feeling the same uncertainty and put on pause. So everything's been pretty much on hold for 14 and 15 months at this point. And I did have a reach out from Jamie Stevenson a few weeks ago, who was asking that the commission start thinking about, our feeling on reigniting pear trees specifically is the ask she had to me, that we have a discussion about it and how we want to move, how and when we want to move forward, kind of recommit to what we do or don't want to do with that project. But I also personally wanted to include both pear tree and weed in the conversation, because the refurbishment of the short lane end of Weed Beach has been hanging out there for as long as Amy and I have been on the commission, which is an awfully long time now. I gotta say like 8 years or something. And we've never got any more, and we've never got any real traction. We did have interest from private donors, the two foundations, to support us, and we had really jumped on that because we were in the middle of pear tree and felt financially the town probably wouldn't support two big capital projects at once. But they may or may not be willing to join us, or maybe not to the extent of the funding we need. So I thought it would be worthwhile to have a conversation really in terms of both projects and prioritization and what we see the vision is, going forward. It was funny, Pam and I were talking, and I said, when you think about the last capital projects of any note that have been completed in the last few years, we have, pickleball isn't completed, but is in process, and we'll update everybody later. We have the basketball court, and then we have the redo of, Diller Park and the trail, and those were all accomplished because we got private dollars. And while that's really, really great that we got private dollars, it's kind of sad that we only got stuff done because we got private dollars. So I think we as a commission really need to really think about, prioritization and emphasis, and then really going back to the selectmen, which Jamie has, invited us to do, to really light a fire under the selectmen and other key bodies in town and say, it's up to us really to take care of our parks and support them. And the different meetings that I've attended over the last, some months on budgets, I've referred to, how it's really become clear that parks are really considered essential services and, core to the fabric of the community, and that we need to be taking care of them better, and always not be the first, place that the cuts, when we went through the budget this year, town administration tried to cut out the refurbishment of the tennis courts, which luckily the selectmen did put back in. But, I think we have to be increasingly vocal voices about this, but really think about how we want to press forward and really, champion for those dollars to get some of these projects moving. So that's my introduction, and I think we can just open it up to some, a little bit of discussion, and then kind of hone in, how we want to proceed. Okay. Anybody?
I think, you started out by talking about all the new residents in town, and, letting them know about amenities and things like that. And I've talked to a lot of newcomers, and one of the things they told me that the reasons they moved to town was when they came to Weed Beach and saw what we did there, and that their realtors, that was their first stop. And I feel like that, our residents are looking for places to be outdoors and spend time with their families, and we owe it to them. And honestly, when you look back at I was on Weed Beach building, obviously, you remember that, and I did the playground, which was a private partnership. It amazes me how much we were able to do with the dollars we did get. As you probably all know, that project changed. We talked about having a restaurant there. There were a lot of different things that were in play, and we ended up where we needed to be. And we brought a beautiful amenity to the town. Now we allow dogs to go in the winter, and that's lovely also. But it's just one piece of, just one jewel that we have. We have so many of jewels that need to just be, brightened up, worked on. I think we need that. I mean, we have so many people who really want to use these amenities. People are staying home more in the summer. I mean, I think we're going to have another busy summer, to be honest with you, because everybody's, our kids are not going to be fully vaccinated. And, I'd like to see some of these. I mean, as I walk around and see, I spend more time at the parks now with my dog, on leash, of course, when appropriate. And it's been great. I mean, it's great being outdoors and taking that time, and so many people are still home. I mean, I know a lot of these businesses that have, where people have jobs that they can work from home, they're going to work from home for a while longer. So they're using, you see bikers out there, you see all these people. So, I mean, I think this is the time to push for, the funding. I don't know the situation, obviously challenging, but I feel like they're going to be well used, and they'll just attract more residents that are kind of, you hear the realtors. I mean, everybody keeps on saying, are you going to sell your house? Are you going to sell your house? People are looking to move to Darien, whether it's the taxes, the amenities, the wide open spaces that we have that the, city might not offer. But as a commissioner, I want to make sure that our newest residents, all our residents get, to use all of our facilities the best way possible. So that's where I stand.
Great, thanks, Susan. Others? I see. Patty, all right, I'll let you speak because no one's raising their hand. Okay.
Lori, I believe I can help you with the Weed Beach project. So I know that you're asking for everybody's feedback from the commission, but I've gotten pretty close with folks on both the Darien Foundation and the DAF, and it is my belief that if we continue to talk to them, they are open to it now. So I'm happy to work with you, Lori, or with anybody on your crew to move that forward. We've had these discussions, so I just wanted to throw that out there. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Patty. Pam? You're on mute, Pam. You're still on mute, Pam.
Okay, there you go. Thank you. So Jen and I have been in discussion. She's the leader of Darien Athletic Foundation, and we will be getting together next week to just rediscuss and look over the plans. And so that's something I would have been discussing tonight. So thank you, Patty.
Great. Yeah, no, it's Jen, and it's Ward Glassmeyer, and it's some of the other folks. So whatever I can do to help you now that some of the other projects are done, I think it's a great time to re-engage with them. That's what I wanted to say. So if I can help, let me know. Thanks.
Okay. So it sounds like we have the possibility to, revisit that with them, but then of course we need the commitment from the commission that this is something we still want to put resources, because it's the financial resources, of course, but it's also the resources of Pam and her staff. It's the resources of this commission to, be involved, some members of the commission being involved. Susan was helping us before it put on pause. So, it's both human capital and financial capital resources to champion these projects, attend the multitude of meetings, even when we had initial meetings with the RTM, gosh, a year and a half ago more, I was sort of amazed how many questions there were about it. And I still remember, it was a P&Z meeting Pam went to, and then you left, and I was watching it on channel 79, and for some reason I left channel 70 on, and then after Pam left the room, they kind of started making comments. So I think as we were talking about, pavement versus stone. They said, oh, it's like that old, Joni Mitchell song, and they want to start, paving paradise, and, we're all going to have to start, writing letters and kind of seeing how we can fight this. And I was kind of stunned that, members of P&Z, didn't raise those comments while Pam was in the room. But we're kind of disparaging it. And you're thinking, these are nice walking trails around Weed Beach, but there were kind of these snarky comments. So, we all have to be ready to, get behind these projects, agree on them conceptually, of course, but then, once we're in alignment for what the project should look like, because we probably going to want to revisit that, Pam, just because it's all going to be mush in all of our brains. Make sure that we're all aligned as a commission, that it's the direction we want to go. See if there's any changes that we may want to think about. I know the boardwalk along the beach was one topic that I'd say there was more mixed views on whether we needed that or should do that or not, things of that nature we'll want to revisit. But then be prepared to be, champions in the community to support the project. So I just do want to get, it does take, time and effort on all of our parts. So I want people to be aware of that. Yes, Pam.
Just a correction. It wasn't P&Z, it was EPC.
It was EPC? Okay. All right. Well, it was one of those, but all right. It was EPC. But I remember it was just kind of odd. It was just kind of odd because I remember calling you afterwards and you're like, they said what after I left?
I think that people will maybe change of mind when it comes to the pathway now, because the people that are enjoying Highland Farms and the amount of people that can take their children and have, the learning how to ride their bike or just take their bikes or rollerblades or what have you. And there's just a multitude of uses with that path. So
I think so. Kathy?
So I have a more basic question. I feel like this is a Mike question, so it's in his honor, which is, does the town have the funding to really go behind these programs right now? How is the town doing financially? We're still in the midst of COVID, and the restaurants are doing better, but I don't know if we're getting the same revenues that we were prior to the COVID hitting us. So.
Pam?
I believe there's been some resources through the government that have been given to municipalities. And so I do think that Darien's in a good financial spot. But again, that would have to be confirmed through finance.
I mean, last I remember reading a few months ago, our fund balance as a percentage was very high. In fact, was in excess of the target that's set by the Board of Finance. Adele and Patty, you guys are, going through the final budget for the year that will be voting on, I think, in a week or so. Have you gotten any impressions that, money was tight?
I think it's looking good for the budget. This is Adele Conniff. I will say that the Board of Finance did decide to fund the capital projects this year from funds that they had, on hand to keep the mill rate down. So that is something that we have to think about. But the collections have been good, and but I think you're right to pause and think: are people ready to support things? Hopefully they are. That's my take.
Okay, thank you. Tier?
I feel really comfortable pushing forward with Weed Beach. I think that overall it has more of a majority of community support. It's more of an active, busy beach, and it just seems appropriate to focus on that now and the potential with the walking loop and the boardwalk. As for Pear Tree Point, right before the pandemic, Pam and I had a really interesting talk with the Vice President of Project for Public Spaces, which is a pretty incredible organization that does placemaking work. And we talked with them pretty thoroughly about Pear Tree Point and, about the community's feel about it and how they could help us with that in terms of coming in and doing a full-on workshop and plan and interviews and getting a wide variety of community's input on it. But the budget for that was very high. It was about 90 grand. And then also we were in the pandemic. So I would say if we do revisit Pear Tree Point, I'd really like to push for going back and talking with Project for Public Spaces and seeing if they could possibly help us on a smaller scale, you know, for a lower rate, and you know, getting the community together to really brainstorm what could be done there, especially in terms of like lighter, quicker, cheaper things that we could do there, even temporarily. But yeah, I think Weed Beach would be a great focus for the town right now. I think it's just like a really bonding community hub there, and I'd like to move forward on that project.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Sarah?
I agree with Tier 100%. I think we should go fully ahead with weed. I think that, you know, we have all of the information. I think it's just a matter of going back and jump-starting it. And I'm happy to help, you know, if that would, you know, ease the load on you, Lori, or Pam. I'm happy to help out with that. And as far as Pear Tree goes, you know, again, I just agree with Tierra. I think that we just need to take a step back and figure out what everyone wants, not just us, the community, and have buy-in from everyone going into it.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else? Susan or Amy, I can't see you.
Yeah, I agree. I think we should focus on Weed Beach for all the reasons everybody's mentioned. I also think there's, I don't know, I may be naive, but there's probably a little less friction associated with that versus Pear Tree, and I think people are still kind of weary from Pear Tree up, you know, whoop-de-doo, and we should just maybe take a breath on that just for a little bit. I think it's important that we revisit it, but if we just take a little breath, might be a good idea from the town standpoint.
I mean, as a reminder on Pear Tree, we still have the application pending with DEEP. We have to do the soil samples, Pam, correct? We got the approval for the soil sample test plan. So now we have to go ahead and do the soil samples, correct?
Yes.
And then
I believe
based
that's
on
happening
that,
Thursday.
that's happening Thursday. And then ultimately what we were looking at was for approval for the reworking of the parking lot to address the flooding, and then the boat ramp would be done as part of that, because as I was referring earlier, the pitch of the ramp is not correct. It just basically wasn't built right to begin with. And it's very challenging at certain tides to get your boat and your vehicle. You can get your vehicle kind of stuck in the water, which I almost did once. So that piece, if we were to get that approval, which with DEEP, from what I understand from my husband who's dealt with them professionally and other colleagues, they just kind of work at their own pace. So I can't even predict how much longer it might take once we send in the soil samples. I don't know, has Mike or Dan Biggs given us any?
Just that the samples will be done. They were supposed to do it last Thursday, but it was rain. So I believe they're going to be on site tomorrow all day. And then it goes back to DEEP. So.
But yeah, but then after that, I mean, it's not like we know that like once we send that in that they'll approve it in 6 weeks or it's just whenever they get to it. So at the point that we know whether we have approval for that project or not, it would seem to me that, you know, the building committee would need to reconvene to determine whether, you know, they want to go ahead with that part and possibly we do the parking lot and not do the building for now or whatever. But that's, you know, but what I'm hearing from the committee, if I'm interpreting the different comments, is that there is not a large appetite to press ahead with the building right now. Am I interpreting people's comments correctly? So yes, no,
Yes.
maybe so. Yes, Susan?
I just wanted to go back to the pear tree versus Weed Beach. I think that Weed Beach is very well utilized, I mean, thanks to some of the improvements that were done there. But I also feel like we're such a large group of residents, and it's a big town, and it's nice to have two amenities fully usable. And I think that I always hear that, oh, they could go to Weed Beach. I think there are different places and different populations, and obviously I'm the longest serving member of the commission, so we did Weed Beach, and the idea was that we were going to go to Pear Tree and make those improvements. A lot of things were put off because we thought we were going to make them, not that because we didn't care about the building, we put them off because we knew we were going to redo Pear Tree. So there were a lot of inherent problems with that building. And so I agree that we should get community buy-in and get everybody on board. But I also feel like you talked about the parking lot. There's that flooding that happens there. I mean, it makes the beach not usable for, when there's high tide. It goes right into the road now, so it makes that road really hard to beat. So that's a public road. So we need to fix those problems no matter what.
Right.
And also going back to the money thing, I mean, if we do Weed Beach, it sounds like it'd be another private-public partnership, with most of it being private, with us doing some of the kind of the work in-house, right?
That was the original intent.
Financially, that's what happening. And then a Pear Tree project is typically a bonded project, which is what happened with Weed Beach. So that's a bonded project. So we're at a point, I mean, I'm not a finance person by any stretch of the imagination, as a housewife, but the borrowing rates now are, we can borrow money, you know what I mean? The rates are really low now. So we're going to have this opportunity. If we do a project, there's lots of people that might need opportunities to do things, and we can borrow. So I'm not trying to say that we should, tax everybody to get things done, but I am saying that we should use the resources that are in front of us as efficiently as possible, and not say to ourselves or even to our residents that they should all go to Weed Beach, because there's two beaches in town. We're fortunate to have that. We should be utilizing both resources. Maybe not evenly, but we should have that opportunity to utilize them.
Adele?
Hi. I would feel remiss if I didn't say that I know that Pam and others are getting a lot of questions about, well, what are we going to do with the bathhouse at Pear Tree? And so there are people looking for something to happen. It's your decision as to what will happen, but I don't think there are people out there asking the questions.
Yeah, and Pam and I, we went over and visited, walked it with Jim Flynn. I guess it was just before our last meeting, identified some sort of immediate fixes. And Pam, you just got the bids back, I think, today, for, some painting, replacement of sinks, the railing outside of the snack bar, which is very rusty, to get that sanded down and painted, things of that nature. So we definitely identified some areas that we thought needed to be taken care of immediately. It's my feeling that it just doesn't look the way it should. And that, what was it, about $10,000, give or take? I don't have it in front of me, Pam.
Pear Tree, 5,000, but we don't have that in our budget, so it would have to go for special appropriations.
And I think we go for it personally. I think this town.
It's 10,000 at Weed Beach.
Oh, it's 10 at Weed. Oh, that was for the painting of the path. I think we should go for that too. It looks terrible.
Yes.
I'm not going to be shy about asking for these things. I mean, I just think we should be able to take care of, rusty sinks and rusty railings when our beaches are heavily utilized, and get the money. So I have no hesitation going and asking, so that we can, at least take care of some of those basic items at Pear Tree. I mean, I'd love to see, on either side of the snack bar windows, I'd love to see some nice kind of tall planters and get some flowers in there, and then ask the snack bar staff just to, to water them, or get our regular pear tree sitters. I know there's probably a few of them that are at this meeting, just kind of keeping an eye if we would be able to get some nice annuals and just make sure that they get watered and taken care of or whatever, but just even some quick things like that. Pam, we did plant new trees, correct?
Correct. 3
new trees went in the last few weeks. So I think we need to address some of those items immediately, Adele. So
maybe a compromise between the two approaches is Tier's approach to see if we can get, I forget the name of the organization, to help do really sort of maybe in the fall, once we hope we're opening up from COVID, sort of a discussion with the community about what they want at Pear Tree. I wasn't part of the earlier discussion, so I feel like I can't really speak to those prior sort of discussions you had, but it seems like a good compromise approach to maybe start that in the fall. Hopefully we'll be in a better place from COVID and we can actually meet with people in person.
Okay. Well, I think I'm getting a good sense of how people are thinking and sort of where we are as a, as a group. So any other thoughts or comments? There's nothing specific to vote on. Just wanted to start the conversation. Okay. Everybody good on this topic?
I can just add, I do support what Susan said. I think we do have to address the parking lot. And I think there's a gentleman whose driveway or his property gets flooded, and hopefully that'll be taken care of. And the boat launch is obviously an issue. So, maybe we consider focusing on those areas, and maybe focus on those before we focus on the building, which seemed to be a hot, contentious issue. Anyway, but yeah, and also we beach.
Yeah, I mean, the interior of the building doesn't look good. We identified some door jambs that are very rusty because of the flooding that's taken place in there, which Jim feels are a bit of a safety issue. If somebody kind of cut a corner too quickly and cut themselves on it, they probably need a tetanus shot for sure. So I think that was in the list as well.
Sure, we should do that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that area doesn't have public access, but it has access by the lifeguards. If the lifeguards brought somebody into the first aid room, I think that's really the only time that the public would be in there. But then, of course, the snack bar staff and, the snack bar will be open this summer. So that's limited access, and then the police when they go in and out. But
that makes sense.
It's just not right. And I think some of you may have saw it when we did our tour in the fall. I think we went in there as well, and you saw that you could just see the rust from the, the water that's gotten in there over the, over the years from the various storms.
Yeah.
Okay, I thank everybody for giving some thoughts on that. So the last few items are really kind of just updates on the different projects that are going on. So Pam, you can update us on the tennis to pickleball.
Sure. So Hinding Tennis, which is the vendor that was awarded the project, we met with him last week, or maybe it's gone on 2 weeks now. But anyhow, last week he came and power washed the courts. I did try to get in touch with him today just to for him to give me a timeline, an exact timeline, so that I can, warn the public that the courts will be off for X amount of days. He has not gotten back in touch with me yet about that. When we were in person together, he made it sound as though it would be sooner than later, like within a week or two as a start. But the purchase order's been done and we're ready. So it's just a matter of his schedule. So it's exciting.
It's exciting, but definitely going into the summer, that should be,
Yes, it should be completed before June 1st. I will tell you that there's been many emails right now with folks that are so determined to get use on those courts that they, Laura, you were familiar with people requesting block time. Mm-hmm. Now we've had some people having concerns about us Park and Rec doing lessons on the pickleball courts and taking up time on them. So it's going to be very interesting to see how we all play well together with these courts, because it seems like the crowd is growing very quickly.
Then we may have to think about building more and how we're going to do that. If it's popular and there's demand, then that'll be something we have to be thinking
Right.
about.
I also want to add that when I was in discussion with DAF, they gave the project $10,000. They were very excited about the project and happy to contribute. And they're going to be getting the DAF media students to get involved with the construction. So just the whole story be put out to the public to show the excitement behind the courts. So they are very well behind it. And I think it's just fabulous.
Yeah, I mean, if we keep raising money and we get more than enough, then maybe we've got a kitty to build some more.
Yeah.
I did mention to Pam that it would be a great idea once this is done to arrange a ribbon cutting for both the paddle tennis and the basketball court, which we really never got to do because that was done late last season and we were still kind of in the middle of COVID and weren't having any fun. So maybe we can, I'd really like to plan something for early this summer, some kind of ribbon cutting, you know, really an appreciation for the private donors and a little celebration of, you know, doing some good things in our parks and be a nice chance to start seeing everybody again as well. So once we are kind of zoned in on firm in terms of when we know the, you know, when the paddle, excuse me, sorry, we're a paddle tennis family, when the pickleball courts are done, Pam and I'll have some conversations around that, maybe reach out to you guys and so we can brainstorm as, you know, how to best go about do that in timing, you know, in terms of ribbon cutting, get some press, etc. But I would really, really like to do that. And, you know, in a combination with the basketball court, which I guess, Pam, if the final work was done on the basketball court, Nope,
the sealant still has to go down and probably in May when it gets warmer.
No, but I thought that there was I thought work around the perimeter that your guys were going to do.
Yes, they did do that already. They seeded. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Yeah, yes. I thought they graded and seeded. So now we just have to have it sealed. But we could have a ribbon cutting even if it's not sealed, right?
Sure.
Okay. Sure. Okay. All right. So let's keep that on mind. Okay. So hopefully that might not be done for the next meeting, but we might be close. Okay. I just thought, I know we had agreed that we wanted a debrief on the winter dog walking program. Pam or our doggy do good committee, any input or updates?
Well, on my end, and certainly Jim and Jamie can also comment because we've all been, you know, involved, but you know, no word is good word. We very little complaints. We had, actually, I think we had more people, in my opinion, saying thank you and enjoying it than we did having complaints.
I mean, I can give a couple of brief Darien Digs Dogs things. I think from a feedback standpoint, I absolutely agree with Pam. The negative feedback was brought up at our previous meeting. As far as I am aware, Kathy, correct me if I am wrong, we haven't received any further negative feedback, but we've heard from a lot of residents regarding just thank yous and appreciation for being able to use the Winter Dog program at Weed Beach, as well as just like our efforts from the campaign. Two just Darien dog things I'll add is, I guess this is a little relatable to the standards of care as well, but I just wanted to give a shout out to Patty. She got some wood chips donated last weekend and sent out to the cherrylawn dog community that she is a part of, and suggested that they come and do some trail work. And they had a really good turnout, and they worked on one of the trails that was kind of dilapidated and spread the wood chips. And she sent me some pictures, so I'm going to get those posted on social media and on the Darien Dogs website. So just another shout out to our dog community coming together to better our parks. And also Parks and Rec is partnering with the Darien Nature Center this weekend. They're hosting a Earth Day event with the theme of sustainability. So I will be there hosting an activity table for Parks and Rec, and we are going to be promoting our Darien Dog campaign, and we're going to be making dog toys out of old t-shirts with the kids. So we did some practicing with that this week, and just a fun little thing to be doing that, but it's going to be a really great way to talk about the various rules in the parks and answer questions in a really fun environment, which is our goal with the campaign. And of course, Peanut will be there to make sure we draw in the kids to our table. And so just continuing our efforts with that as well. So I'd say we're still plugging along.
Okay. Great, thank you.
Yeah, we haven't had any more complaints, which is good. And Jamie, thank you for these great ideas and what you're doing on Sunday. I think that sounds like a great idea to teach the kids like what is the goods, the do's and don'ts of having a dog in the park, because I think a lot of them don't know. And I do use an old t-shirt with my dog as a pull toy, so I think it's a great idea. But no, we haven't had any more complaints. You know, I think there's still some work to do in Woodland Park, there's no question, but the signs are still up now. And so the new ones, so that's a good sign. So I think there's progress being made all around.
Good.
And thank you, Patty, for what you did in cherrylawn. I think that sounds great.
Yeah, thank you. So, and not to be a buzzkill here, but I did have a fairly lengthy email chain forwarded to me from the executive director of the land trust. And there is concern about off-leash dogs at Selleck's Woods. And apparently the male swan has gone missing, which some folks are quite heartbroken about, and are concerned that it might have been due to off-leash dogs. And she was questioning, you know, why can't we get better enforcement, you know, around, you know, making sure that the various rules in the parks are followed. So that did come up today. I've communicated with her and will continue to do so. So, but it reinforces, and I remember Diane, you know, referenced at our last meeting that people need to understand, you know, why we have these rules. And I think this is an example of that, as people, you know, that it, you know, very possibly disturbs other very precious, you know, wildlife. And apparently there's one woman in town who basically spent all winter like feeding and nurturing this swan couple, so that, and they were in the middle of building their nest to lay their eggs, and now he's disappeared. And very unfortunate. So anyway, so we just have to keep, you know, we keep with the positive enforcement. I'm hoping that our budget gets approved and we'll get the parks monitor back, that I think definitely helped over the summer months, because he was wandering, you know, not wandering in a like a la-di-da sense, but he would visit the various parks on a random schedule, but he would walk into the parks, but people didn't know when he would be there. But there was enough word around that, you know, the parks monitor does show up and you know, watch out for off-leash dogs. I think that helped over the summer. So, you know, hopefully that will get approved in the budget, and we'll have that this summer. But, you know, we still have the issue on the off season. So I think it's going to be something that's kind of not going to go away, and we just have to keep messaging. And Jamie, I don't know, in whatever table you have set up and the rules, if, you know, tying into the nature center, why, you know, following the rules at the various parks, and particularly the nature preserves, how that helps, you know, other kinds of wildlife. If we can really tie that message in, that we're not doing it just to be difficult, that we're trying to take care of, you know, other kind of animal friends as well, that we need to get that messaging, you know, out there. Yes.
This is literally just a thought based off of what you just said, so bear with me. But we usually host that annual event at Selleck's Woods, and we've in the last like few weeks decided that we're gonna go for it for 2021. So it's gonna be Sunday, May 16th, the Selleck's Woods Adventure Day. And I don't know, I'm just thinking if anyone on my dog committee would be available, like what a great opportunity. We should have a table there for Darien Diggs dogs, and like a really good opportunity to talk about like the nature. And Chris Filmer can talk about this for days. So from a information standpoint, I'm sure Chris could assist with that and speak to like the actual various wild like ecosystems and stuff that exist there, and the issues with the dogs swimming in the lake. I know that's been an issue in the past. So things like that. But what a really great opportunity to reach the people who are utilizing that park, and then people who are experiencing it for the first time and are hopefully going to come back too.
I think that's a really great idea, Jamie.
I think so too. What is Adventure Day? Because I don't know what the Adventure Day is.
Oh, it's so much fun.
So it's scheduled for Sunday, May 16th. And I guess we'll have to see a little bit how it changes as the state regulations change. But right now we're planning on having like 2 floating timelines where people can come and enjoy it. Pam and I were talking about maybe going a little different with this, but we'll see how that rolls out. But essentially it would be like 10 to 2, somewhere in there. And we would have people pre-register, and then we would have stations set up throughout the trails, and have different things like a table for Darien Diggs dogs. Usually like the Darien Nature Center comes and brings a couple of animals, and just fun little activities spread throughout the trail. And then we do like the gnomes and the fairy villages throughout the park. So the little ones like to see those, and they look for them. And then the actual adventure part is Chris and the Boy Scouts like put an actual adventure like challenge course in the middle of it.
Line.
Yeah, there's a zip line. There's like you got to go over a bridge, and an alligator's there, might get you if you fall. Big spider thing, and it's just like fun little. There's like a stump jump thing, and last year we had archery, but we're replacing it with something else this year. I'm trying to remember what it was. But it's like when you got to like get on the 2 lines and you got to like shimmy down the line. So a lot of fun stuff. It was the first time we did it in 2019, and it was very well received. So we're going to be doing all that again. So lots of fun to be had, and our turnout was fantastic then. And it's now that we have to do pre-registration, it's almost like even better, because it's such a great way to know exactly what to expect, and we have that communication line now. So I'm sure we're going to have a ton of young families there to enjoy it.
Yeah, it's best if you have
I'll volunteer for
people. Yeah, if you have little people. I'm going to have to borrow a little person this year, because my little person doesn't live around here anymore.
Lori, I have some little people you can borrow.
I'll send them over. Send them over. So, but you're right, with so many young families in town, it'll be great. But it really, when I went 2 years ago, I took my granddaughter, who was 4 at the time, thinking, we'll pop in for like half an hour. We were there for 3.5 hours. She had the most amazing time. My son said she was talking about it for days. She got her face painted like a unicorn. She like wouldn't wash it off, but she just absolutely loved it. It was just fantastic. It was a super fun day. All right. So, okay. Anything else on dogs? But it sounds like back to the specific Weed Beach program. It sounds like all in all, it feels like it went well. I think each of us might have witnessed an infraction or 2 here and there. But it sounds like as a whole, people were pretty good about following the rules. So is that fair?
And I feel like the Darien Diggs Dogs campaign has made a difference.
Yep.
I really do. So I thank you guys for your efforts. Honestly, it's all about communication, and sometimes that's really a difficult thing to do. But I think hanging all those signs and talking to the public, and I think it's effective.
Yep. Good, great. Yeah. So thank you for all of your efforts and your social media and your cute pictures and all of that stuff. Okay, Pam, we're up to you. Director's report, anything that you haven't already covered with us?
Yes, unfortunately not great news with the concession. We are struggling with finding a concessionaire at McGuan. We the first ones that we thought we had who had accepted the award had backed out. And I think that coming from Monroe, I think they were more interested in getting all 3 facilities than rather than just one. That's my feeling about it. I reached out immediately to Nikki, who is running the beaches, which she originally had, checked off all 3 locations as an interest, but had said that they were no longer interested in McGuan. So I moved on. Tiara was great. She was reaching out to different people and then found a lead for me, which was this Avellino's Family Barbecue, which I had put in my report. I had 2 or 3 different great meetings with them and their partners, and I thought it was all ready to go. And apparently the indoor cooker that he was going to be using was sold before he could get to it. So that did not work out. So I have recently reached out to Nikki again, and she did get back to me this morning or last night and asked what the hours were at McGuan and the days and times. So I'm not certain that it will work out, but I think seeing that originally she was interested, she may come around, I'm hoping. So I'll let you know. Unfortunately, this weekend is opening day. I've stayed in close contact with Little League President Sean, so he's well aware that, we're still trying. Tiara has gotten a hold of a couple of food trucks that she and I will look into. I also got in touch with Bodega Food Truck, waiting to hear back from them too, just to kind of, have something there over the weekend if it's possible. But so that's one thing. Other than that, our, beaches, Rob Williamson from Uncle's has a deadline of this Friday to remove a lot of his personal things that are in both facilities. I did follow up with him again today. The facility still needs to get cleaned. Both of them get cleaned, and the equipment needs to get checked before we will go ahead and give Rob the money that the town has approved. We'll make sure that everything's working in good working condition. What else?
But we're good to go with Nikki at the 2 beaches.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. The security gate guards, as I mentioned in the report, have started since this last Monday at Weed Beach. And I'm happy to announce that Bob is back. So I know. So he came back up from North Carolina. He must, and I said the public is going to be so happy to see his face. So he does know it's pending the approval of the budget for the patrol. And Jim has, he quickly arranged all the meetings with the West Tech company and got that all arranged, and they have started on Monday. So it was all quite smooth as far as I could see. Jim never came with any complaints or anything. It seemed to go pretty quickly and smoothly, and the guards will start on Memorial Day weekend at Pear Tree. Had we had the budget for it, we would have started them at the same time this year, but we don't. So we will have to budget for that if that's something the commission would like to see in the future. We will end at the same time, but we won't start at the same time. And I think my report speaks for itself. Those are just some highlights. And we're looking to, one last highlight is update the toddler area at cherrylawn. There's about 3 pieces of really worn, kind of faded out, just don't look very good pieces of equipment in the toddler area. And we will be replacing those this spring.
Great. That's great news about Bob. He would I'll look forward to getting his daily email or his daily text messages. What happened in the parks yesterday? Right. He was terrific last summer. He really covered a lot of ground, hit all the key parks, got to know people. So I think you're right. I think the residents will be very pleased to see him back and having our own, on staff. He's technically works for the security company, but he acts like he's a member of the Parks and Rec staff, but I think having somebody who is really working for us and not be relying on the police or other resources over the summer, I think is such a positive. We really pushed hard during the budget process to convince the various boards of how important, you know, we feel this is for the enjoyment of the parks by everybody. So that's great news. Okay.
One last highlight is the email that I sent to the commission about the governor's ruling after May 1st and after May 19th about, you know, not having to wear masks out in the outdoors. You know, it went from really very hesitant still to wide open. So Jamie and I are going to meet with Jamie and Kate and David Knopf when we can all find the right time, just to confirm with them, based on this information, how comfortable they as the town feel about us proceeding along those same guidelines. You know, yesterday or today it's 500 in a organized event. Well, come May, there's no limit. So we want to see how comfortable they are with that, and whether we want us to continue just being safe for now.
Okay. Any questions for Pam?
No.
Pam, I just want to say thank you so much for doing an amazing job navigating this concession roller coaster. And I've just been really so impressed. You've been staying so calm, cool, and collected throughout it all. And we've had a lot of ups and downs, but I think it's gonna work out okay.
I'm an optimist forever.
Okay. Well, and Tier, thank you as well for jumping in and representing the commission to keep this moving forward.
You're welcome. We'll be doing a lot of
as soon as Nikki's open, I'll buy you a latte. How about that? First one's on me. So, okay. All right. So to wrap it up, I've only got a few more things that we haven't already touched on because we talked about the dogs off leash, the land trust. I attended the Commission for Coastal Waters earlier this week, and they have put up safety signs on the kayak racks, the town kayak racks. They look really nice. They're not laminated, but they're waterproof paper. But they're safety tips for kayakers in terms of reminding people to wear life jackets, to bring a communications device with them, and to file a float plan, which basically means tell somebody where you're going and when you will be back. The waters are very, very cold this time of year, and I think it was Tom Beller, one of the guys, was saying they were at a meeting down at the boat club a few weeks ago, and they saw some guy go out on a paddle board with like no life jacket, in shorts, nothing. They were just like, you're not gonna last 5 minutes in this water. So those have been posted, and they've asked us to keep an eye on them on the racks, and if they wear or whatever, they can replace them during the season. Pam, they also asked me, we mentioned this last summer, I don't remember what we ended up doing, but ideally each vessel that's stored, kayak or paddleboard, should have an identification sticker on it with a name and or ideally a phone number. And the reason is, if one of these things gets loose or is floating out in the water and is discovered, you don't want police wondering if there's somebody who flipped over and drowned and is missing or whatever, that there's a phone number that can be called, for the police to say, we found this red kayak, were you the owner? And then sort of try to track that down. They can provide us with those stickers. They need to know how many, and then how do we get them to people? Because I think we don't mail. Are we mailing people any kind of, the people who won the lottery? Do they get something that we provide them?
Jim, remind me, last year we did provide those stickers to the kayak people, but it didn't mean that they all put them on their boats.
Yeah, we did. That's already been mailed out, Lori. We mailed it out with. I actually mailed them out with their permits and one of those that were on the on the kayak racks. So they got that information. Some of the feedback, I don't think many people use those on their kayaks. Last year, I had a couple of people say, I don't want people to know my name and phone number. You know, it's in a public place. So I can understand both sides of the thing for sure, but we can mail them out. It'd be easy for us to mail them out. But you just let us know if that's something, you want us to do.
Okay.
We don't have any though. We'd need them, and maybe they could take a name.
Provide them. They were just asking how many. So how many slots are there at each beach?
So there's 60 spots at each beach, each slot. But some folks are putting 2 kayaks in the slot. So if they wanted to send us 240, that would be great.
Okay. Okay. I mean, people could just put the phone number on it, even if they didn't put their name. You could just put a phone number. But
sure.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that. But on the other hand, if somebody finds a kayak floating, it would be nice for them to be able to get or just say, call it, I found your kayak floating. I mean, a few years ago, my husband and I were on the middle of Long Island Sound, and we kind of saw something, and we went and we looked, and it was a cooler, and it was floating. And we picked up the cooler, and it was completely empty, except there was a man's wallet in it. So through a little sleuthing, looking at the drawer, whatever, we found the guy. Somehow we tracked down, got a phone number, called him, and we're like, we have your wallet. And he said, what do you mean you don't have my wallet? And we're like, yeah, I actually do have your wallet. So actually, very well. It was just floating in Long Island Sound because it had blown off the boat. So anyway, things do go floating. I wanted to mention that the Darien Men's Association, Pam, you were, is doing a cleanup day at Pear Tree on Sunday.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Okay. So they are doing that for us, which is very nice. And then they're going to kind of work up Good Wives River as well. And I think that was it from the Harbor Commission. And the only thing I wanted to mention, do you guys all get this magazine?
Oh, I love it.
I don't know. I just started arriving in the last year. I don't really know what, but this particular issue, we got mentioned all over the place. I mean, the parks were front and center in this. It was just great publicity. There was a whole issue about Selleck's Woods, and then the green team we were referenced, and then there was something else back here, pretty picture of Tilly. So I don't know if you guys had something to do with this, but somehow we got the parks got major coverage and positive press about being, such jewels for town. So I just thought that, I don't know if people saw this or not, but it was really, I don't know how I ever got on the mailing list. It just started appearing, comes to resident. So does everybody get this?
I would think so.
Yes, I love it.
Okay, so
Lori, I can't actually see you. I don't know why your photo isn't coming up on this. What magazine are you referencing?
It's called Darien Neighbors.
Oh, it's great. Pam Vossler's. Yes, I saw that.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, I don't know if Pam or Jamie, you were involved in getting us all that good publicity.
Not I.
Just got lucky, but it was great. So a lot of positive.
Pam, I don't know if you want to get some extra copies, but I'm sure Pam would be open to, you getting some and having them in the office. If you wanted to just.
Yeah, I think that's great. That would be wonderful. And I want to say most likely a lot of that came from the green team, which Jamie is on. So I think that's probably where most of that came from. But what a great picture on the cover.
Yep. Really nice. So anyway, so it was just nice because I think, again, if everybody in town's getting this, it's just, again, featuring our parks and the amenities, and it'll help us build support as we want to do more and seek, support and money, most importantly.
Yeah, and I think that Pam, who is the editor there, is always looking for editorial content. So, I mean, I think it would be a great way to, Jamie, maybe you want to connect with her about your upcoming events, and she might even be open to, what do I know, putting in a Parks and Rec update, column or something.
I was just gonna ask, do you have like contact info and I can add her
Yeah,
to like my
I'll send
media?
it to her. She's just beyond lovely. She's just great, smart, capable. She's great. I'll send that to you now.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, great.
I think the Parks and Rec Commission should be on the next cover.
Ha, there you go. They seem to do couples. They seem to focus on couples that volunteer in town or something.
Well, she had one with kids too, mother and children doing things. And
yep.
It's just nice to see a magazine with such positive articles, it's just a joy.
Yep. Yeah, no, I was reading it one night before I turned the lights on. It's like, oh my God, there we are. It's like, oh my God, there we are again. It was great. So I just wanted to make sure everybody had seen that. So that is all I had for this evening. We do have new business on the agenda. If anybody has new business they want to raise and make a motion to move into new business. And if not, we can take a motion to adjourn. So I'll leave it up to all of you, which it will be. Any takers for new business? Nope. Okay, then we will go to a taker for a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Okay, Mary Louise got it. Okay, Susan second. Okay. Jamie, call us out.
All right, Lori.
Yes, please.
Sarah.
Yes.
Amy.
Yes.
Pierre.
Yes.
And Kathy.
Yes.
That's everybody.
Everybody? Okay.
Unfortunately, I have one more thing. Can I put something in new business? Just quickly. It's a pickleball issue.
All right, we're probably breaking some rule here.
Pickleball.
We're still recording, so we're all right.
Are we? Jim and I just want to get the support of the commission on pickleball fees because there's been a lot of talk surrounding, booking, and so I was suggested to Jim, why not just have be able to book the pickleball courts the same way we do the tennis and keep the fees exactly the same as tennis.
Okay, I think we probably have to have a real discussion and vote on that.
We can do that in May.
So we'll maybe do that, and let's put that on the agenda for May.
Okay.
Okay, because I think we'd have to vote to unadjourn and then vote to go into new business, and it's getting
late.
A little late.
Okay, great.
A little late, but why don't you put that on, because I agree, we need to address it and really figure out how we're going to tackle that. I think that's important. Okay, so I think we're already adjourned.
We're good. Thanks, everybody.
Okay, thanks, everyone.
See you next time.
Bye, thank you.